Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm coming at you guys with the brand new Dark Magician Girl Shining Sarcophagus deck profile. Host Alliance Insight. Guys, Alliance Insight gave a lot of decks new support, and you guys already know I'm a huge fan of the anime. I'm a huge fan of dual monsters, and anytime that Yugi gets a brand new support, you know I gotta showcase you guys the updated deck profile. But now I'm getting a little spicy with it. God dang. Anyways, today I'll showcase you guys the entire deck breakdown, and most importantly, I'm gonna show you guys some bread and butter combos that you guys must know when it comes to playing this deck right here. Before we begin, if you guys want to see more awesome Yu-Gi-Oh deck profiles, be sure to leave a comment in the comments below on what deck you guys want to see next, because at the end of the day, you guys already know I read every single comment. I read every single suggestions, every single roast. And ladies and gents, we're road to 1 million subscribers. So if you guys haven't yet hit the subscribe button, be sure to subscribe. Without further ado, let's start with the deck profile. All right, guys, some of the monsters we're quick gonna play, of course, 3 copies of the brand new Dark Magician Girl, the Magician's Apprentice. This card is absolutely amazing for the Shining Sarcophagus archetype, and the reason why she's absolutely insane is because of her ability. She is a dark level 6 spellcaster effect monster with a stats 2000 attack and 1700 defense, which is the exact same as Dark Magician Girl. You can special summon this card from your hand by discarding 1 card, and if you do, this card needs to become Dark Magician Girl. So it's kind of like Apprentice Illusion Magician, where you're able to discard a card to summon yourself from the hand, but they both have different abilities whenever they're summoned. If this card is normal summon or special summon, you can add 1 Shining Sarcophagus from your deck to your hand, and this card gains 300 attack for each monster that mentions Shining Sarcophagus in the graveyards. So that goes for both graveyards, by the way, okay? So if you happen to be playing a mirror match, she'll also gain that 300 attack boost for each Shining Sarcophagus in the grave. So why is she important? Originally, you have 3 copies of Gadget Trio, 3 copies of Shining Sarcophagus, and 3 copies of Future Silence. So that means you only have 9 starters in your entire deck. But with Dark Magician Girl, the Magician's Apprentice, she basically adds 3 additional copies of Shining Sarcophagus into your deck, because all these cards you see on screen, which is Shining Sarc, Gadget Trio, and of course Dark Magician Girl, the Magician's Apprentice, these are all ways to get access into, of course, your main card, which is the Shining Sarcophagus. So getting additional searchers, so that way you can add more consistency to the deck, makes Shining Sarcophagus a bit better than before. So that's why I'm maximizing myself and playing 3 copies of Dark Magician Girl. She's just like one of the best starters in the deck, alongside Gadget Trio, Shining Sarcophagus, and also Future Silence. Next off, to more your starters, like I mentioned, Gadget Trio, absolutely insane. When this card is normal summon or special, you can add 1 Shining Sarcophagus, 1 spawn trap card that mentions it directly from your deck to your hand, which is really good. Next off, play 2 copies of Silent Magician Zero. This card right here, if your opponent draws a card, increases the card's level by the number of cards drawn. When this card's level is higher than its original, it gains attack equal to the difference times 500. When your opponent activates a spell card or effect while you control Shining Sarcophagus, you can negate the activation if you do increase this card's level by 1. So this card can easily OTK, which is absolutely amazing. And it's also a spell negate. And of course, the Silent Swordsman Zero. This card, similar to how Silent Magician Zero operates, discard once per turn during the standby phase, increases level by 1. And when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets Shining Sarcophagus or a monster that mentions it that you control, quick effect, you can negate the activation you do, increase this card's level by 1. So if you already have this on the field already, and you normal summon Gadget Trio, or you special summon, of course, Dark Magician Girl, you try to activate effect, and they chain effect veiler, or they chain impermanence, you can activate you can use Silent Swordsman Zero and just negate any card that targets Shining Sarcophagus or any monster that mentions Shining Sarcophagus, which is basically your entire deck. Now next, for your main board wipe is, of course, double Gendora G to Dragon Destruction. Just to recap this card's effect: instant attack for each card to banish, and you can only use the following effect of this card once per turn. If you control a Shining Sarcophagus, you can special this card from your hand. You pay half your life points. Basically, destroy and banish as many cards in the field as possible. And if you do, special summon 1 level 7 or lower monster that mentions Shining Sarcophagus directly from your deck, and increases level by the number of cards destroyed. So this card is an insane board wipe, which is really good. The reason why this deck is so great is because you play control in the main deck engine within itself, helps breaks boards. So going first, you can set up multiple negates with the Shining Sarcophagus monsters, Magician Zero, with, of course, Silent Swordsman Zero, and also backed up with a bunch of non-engines like hand traps. And while going second, Gendora G is a board breaker. It helps breaks the boards. While going first, it helps set up combos. Like if you want to bring out Dark Magician and get you access to Dragoon on the very first turn. So this deck is kind of like control a deck going first, where you're able to control with the non-engine like hand traps you have, but going second, combined with non-engine, you get access to, of course, with Gendora G, you can easily break your opponent's entire board. And now with the addition of having 3 Dark Magician Girls, you basically have 3 more ways to get access to Gendora G by accessing Shining Sarcophagus. You guys understand what I'm saying? So Gendora G is absolutely amazing. and the one copy of Dark Magician, the Magician of Black Magic. This card right here, you combos off with Ghidorah G, you're able to destroy it, and then it comes back, and you set one spawn track where that mentions Dark Magician, which is going to be Secrets of Dark Magic. And since it's a dragon and this card needs to become Dark Magician while on the field, Secrets of Dark Magic helps you get access to Dragoon on your opponent's turn, which gives you basically an untargetable negate, which is absolutely insane. So this card is just really good for that. Now, of course, you're playing 3 copies of the Shining Sarcophagus, very standard. This card basically searches any monster or any card that mentions Shining Sarcophagus from your deck to your hand, and this card cannot be destroyed by card effects, right? So this is the thing. So if your opponent were to try to like ogre this card, if you activate Shining Sarcophagus, try to ogre it because, you know, people are bots. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? They can't ogre this, so it can't be destroyed by card effects, which is awesome. So it also has that built-in Secret Disruption where it says that if your opponent special the monster from the graveyard, except during the damage step, you can discard one small card. Try one of those monsters, send it to the grave. It sends it to the grave, not destroy, which is really good. So especially those Fiendsmith decks that rely on Fiendsmith coming back, so they can continue comboing off. This card has a secret ability to just negate anything that summons from the grave, which is really strong. So triple Shining Sarc, triple copies of Future Silence. So more ways to search your monsters, aka more ways to get access to your Shining Sarcophagus. You can activate this during the draw phase, so you can play it on Troll and Lockburn and stuff like that, which is really great. And during the battle phase, this can actually be used to boost up your Swordsman 0 or Magician 0, so that way they become really beefy, depending on the amount of cards your opponent has drawn, which is really nice. So Silence is just like an amazing searcher for the deck. And after your engine requirements, the turn Silence, this card is really great to also end the battle, as well as has a secret ability to just end the battle, which is really awesome. And the fact that it can just increase its level so that way your Magician 0 or Silence Swordsman 0 can become big is really good. And it's also a monster negate, right? So if you normal summon Gadgetry only chained Veiler, you can just chain turn Silence and it just negates that, which is really good. So it's one of those cards you want to hold in your hand, so that way you can just play it in response to a hand trap, so that way that the hand trap they activate gets nullified. Secrets of Dark Magic can help you get access to Dragoon. And last but not least, it ties that bind. Only one copy of this. It locks you into the extra deck turn you activate this card. So, you know, going first, you want to activate Ties That Bind and set up your boards of Silent Sword 0 and also Silent Magician 0. So that way you have like 3 negates to Shining Sarcophagus, Sword 0, and also Magician 0, which is really good. So Ties That Bind is just really great. And guys, that's pretty much it for the main engine. The really good thing about this deck is that it can play 19 non-engine in your deck. So you have 21 engine, and then you have space for 19 non-engine, which is absolutely crazy. If you're only playing 2 copies of Magician 0, you can play 20 non-engine, which is crazy. So here's a non-engine that I decided to play for this deck. 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. Ladies and gents, you're going to maximize yourself on actually just drawing as much as possible. And this is what you want your opponent to ash, right? Like, you don't really care for your extra deck, so you want them to ash this. It's okay. At the start, activate this, draw 2 cards. They have to ash it. And if you don't, you start off with, you know, 6 cards, 7 cards going second, which is absolutely insane. So Pot of Extravagance, really, really powerful card, and you don't really care for the extra deck too much. Anyways, you're also banishing cards, right? So, you know, your Ghidorah gains more attack. After your hand traps, 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Nothing really to explain here. Very, very standard. Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Stops basically everything. And this deck doesn't lose much to chummies, right? Which is awesome. 3 copies of Nib. Nib is just really ridiculous. And I feel like this card is like really strong in this format. So I'm going to maximize myself actually playing 3 Nibiru. And especially combined off with cards like Impermanence and also Effect Veiler. It's also really great. So we're going to play 3 Impermanence, followed off with 3 Effect Veiler. You guys already know Nib, Imperm, Nib, Veiler. 2 best combinations in the entire game. So these cards are just like really good generic hand traps you can play in the deck. Next off for the one-ofs, you're playing, of course, D-Shifter. This card's a god card in this deck. If you activate it, you just win the duel. You don't really care for your graveyard at all. Bistro Magnum and Bistro Jerusalem, just a 1-1. Mag is good because Mag can search Jerusalem, and Mag can also search Ghidorah G, which is also a dragon, and these also have dual purposes alongside them being able to disrupt the grave. This searches Ghidorah, this is an interruption. And the fact that you can use these to make Dragoon with your Dark Magician is just insane, right? So just a 1-1. Last but not least, the 1 talents as the god card. These are just like the god one-ofs of the deck. If you draw, you just like more likely just gonna win that game with this deck. So guys, that is pretty much it for the main deck. Let's go off to the extra deck. It's not like the strongest thing of your deck because you're playing Extravagance, right? So the extra deck is just like good to have just in case. But you want to focus on having, you know, more of the main engine in your of the deck in your hand with Extravagance rather than your extra deck, right? So access code for OTKs, line up for utility, the 1 Dark, IP Masquerena. I'm playing double copies of SP Little Knight because you're playing Extravagance. So obviously it just makes sense to play double copies of SP. One Nightmare Phoenix, one Celine for access code. You go Lina, steal their engraver. You go Celine, access code game. Typhon, I play the Zeus, which is also really nice. One Baguska. I'm playing 2 copies of Typhon. Extra deck can be whatever you guys want, but this is just like what I have. You barely use the extra deck, but it's just great to have just in case, right? Baguska, and of course the only 3 of that I'm playing is 3 copies of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, because of extravagance, right? Like you want to still be able to summon this card while going first or second, which is good. This card can just instantly win games. It's untargetable, right? Which is absolutely crazy. So yeah, so Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, really awesome. And you rarely go into your extra deck because like you go Gendora and you're not summoning anything from the extra deck anyways, and on your opponent's turn you make Red Eyes Dark Dragoon with the Secrets of Dark Magic, so they can't even make Typhon bounces back because you just summon from your extra deck twice, right? So let's go on with some bread and butter combos you guys must know when it comes to playing this deck right here. Alright guys, welcome to the bread and butter combos you guys must know when it comes to playing the brand new Dark Magician Girl, the Magician's Apprentice for 2025 in Shining Sarcophagus. I just want to get one thing out of the way, guys. This deck isn't a heavy combo deck. It's more to be a control deck, survive to turn 3, and then you just out-grind your opponent by just out-resourcing them with Shining Sarcophagus or Gadget Trio and stuff like that. So guys, let us begin. Here we go, and I read your comments. You guys prefer, in the Dragon Ruler video, I showcased you guys this on the simulator, but I agree, this looks a bit more clean. So yeah. All right, guys, let us begin. So look, ideally, like if you want an apprentice in this, and let's ideally go like you have hand traps, right? Like, you know, like you have 3 hand traps. Obviously, this is like the perfect scenario where, you know, like this is like God hand. This is what you're trying to do with this deck. Like control the game with these and just win with minimal engine, which is why the new Dark Magician Girl is great, because it just gets you access to more engine and it gives you 3 additional copies of Shining Sarcophagus. So what do you do? So you want to discard any random card to the grave, special summon her, activate her effect. I'm gonna put it right here. We'll activate her effect right here. Just gonna search for, of course, Shining Sarcophagus. All right, ladies and gents, and then you can activate Shining Sarcophagus right here. Activate Shining Sarc. You're gonna search for, of course, Gadget Trio right here. Search for Gadget, and then you can normal summon Gadget. Activate Gadget. You're gonna search for Ties That Bind, and this looks like, you know, it doesn't look that strong, but if you go Ties That Bind, target Gadget Trio, you summon 2 guys. The Magician, and of course Silent Zero. And these 2 guys directly from the deck, right? I know a lot of you guys are like, what the heck is this? Like, this looks weak as crazy. Okay, so you activate Ties of Bind, and this is your board. You only normal summon 4 times, so you don't play into Nib, and you have 1 disruption off 0 for targeting, 2 disruption off Silent Magician 0, which is spell negate. If you have a spell in your hand, this becomes a 3rd disruption, and you have 4 bodies on the board that your opponent has to clear, while the best situation is while backed up with hand traps in your hand, right? So obviously this is just off 1 card, where 1 card is able to generate how much advantage? Like 1 card is able to generate 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Plus 4, which is insane. So this is how you play the deck. You play the grind game, you play the control game, where 1 card is able to do something like this, right? Obviously it's not like a 10 negate malice board where like 1 Dormouse does more, right? But this is kind of like the best scenario on how you want to play the deck, where it's kind of like control. Whereas going second, if you open up her, you search Shining Sarcophagus, summon Gendora blow up the entire board, right? Which is great. And, you know, while backed up with hand traps, it's a pretty good situation to have, right? I'm not saying this is like a tier 0 deck. It's not even like a tier 2 deck. It's like a tier 3-ish deck, but it's a fun deck that, you know, it can steal games for sure, depending on the amount of non-engine that you have in your hand, right? So I'm not trying to promote like a false dream here. It's like, oh, this is the best deck ever. It is not. But it's a very fun anime deck for those of you who are trying to pick up something that's really easy to learn and also sticking to the anime theme while also being a little bit competitive, right? So yeah, this is basically the first combo. It's not like the strongest combo, but it's what you're able to get without like playing to Nib and stuff like that, which you don't want to do. So best scenario is something like this with like 3 hand traps and you win the game. And then if they don't kill you, look at the follow-ups. You have Shining Sarc that's coming back. You potentially can have these guys still on the board, and you have the extra draw. The possibilities are limitless when it comes back to your turn, right? Which is absolutely insane. So guys, that is pretty much it for combo number 1. All right, no need to overcomplicate things. Let's go on to combo number 2. All right, guys, off combo number 2, this is gonna be a 2-card combo. You open up any way to get Gendora and also Shining Sarc. You basically have first turn Dragoon, which is absolutely insane, right? So here's what you can do with Gendora and also Shining Sarcophagus. All right, so ideally, like, guys, you want to have like 3 non-engine in your hand. and have these. These are just amazing. So first and foremost, activate Shining Sarcophagus. You want to search for, of course, the Dark Magician, which is really nice. Now you want to summon Dark Magician here, especially in Gandora. You have your light points, you know, to destroy your entire board. To summon, this will allow you to summon Dark Magician Girl directly from the deck. New chain, chain link 2, chain 1. So this will come out. Okay. Then you're gonna set, of course, the Secrets of Dark Magic. Then you activate Dark Magician Girl, the Apprentice. Search, of course, Shining Sarcophagus. Only downside is that she doesn't search any Shining Star card, but she only searches Shining Sarcophagus, which is kind of like L, but still, she's still a really good starter. So you should search this directly from an extra hand. You have this set, and then during your opponent's turn, well, this you want to summon in defense, and then during your opponent's turn, you have access to, of course, Secrets of Dark Magic, which you can use these two to fusion summon into Dragoon, which is awesome. And then what's really interesting here is that you have additional graveyard negate with Shining Sark, because you can just Shining Sark from your hand to the grave. It's the spell to negate anything that comes out from the grave, which is really great. So you have like this interruption, Dragoon interruption, and hopefully backed up with 3 hand traps or non-engines, and then you're pretty much just lit, right? So that's like the whole idea. So it's like with this type of hand, you have like a negate of Dragoon, Shining Sark negate, and like 3 other hand traps. The best scenario is like, you know, then you have 5 interruptions, right? So obviously you're asking for the perfect hand, but that's the whole idea of the deck, is like try to control, and the deck is just so good at playing off minimal resources that you don't need to combo off too much, you know. Whereas like Dark Magician Girl and all these other cards like Future Silence and Shining Sark, those are all just great 1-card combos to help you start off your plays, right? Which is absolutely insane. So guys, these are the 2 combos you guys must know when it comes to utilizing the brand new Dark Magician Girl, Magician's Apprentice. It doesn't look like it's the strongest, but if you guys want to play something that's anime related and something that's true to the anime in the modern era, I would highly recommend the Shining Sarcophagus to play at a local or even at a regional level. Like this deck is actually just like really fun. Not sure if it's like a Y6 level contending deck. It just depends on the amount of non-engine, and also depends on the luck as well. So guys, give this like a shot, give this like a try. Regardless, whenever there's new like Yugi support, I'm always gonna be here to showcase you guys on what these decks are all about. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is your boy Sam from TV Sam signing out. Alright guys, peace.